Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Magnus, and today we're going to install a checkpoint MDS. And we have already done like a CCSA series, and this is the blueprint of the CCSA series. And what we're planning to do is to, let's see if I can take here. So what we're planning to do is to actually go to this one. So the plan is to go to an MDS and an MLM, so we can have virtualization and we can have virtualized management station. We also want to have a VSX system with different VSS to represent different part of the company or different customers, or so to say. And to do this, my plan is to do the following. We will import the existing management server in one of the CMAs. So we actually control the cluster, the normal cluster from one of the CMAs. And we have a CMA for the main 01 where we actually will place the VSX, and then we will add one or two more CMAs for these specific VSS. To do this, we will first need to install an MDS. So the one with a nice yellow star here, that's the one we will install today. And the reason why we will do like this and also install it in R80.30 is so we can build a nice VPN lab. So we will have the R80.30 with the user def file to represent our VPN object. And then we will have a VPN tenant R81 where we utilize the new feature that it came in R80.40 for VPN domains based on a specific community. So this is the reason why we're building a quite advanced lab. And I have just figured out that MDS is actually requiring, or it's recommended to minimum have 32 gigs of RAM. In my existing machine, I only have 48 gigs, so that's a bit of a complication because I counted a bit and I would need 64 gigs minimum. Thankfully, I've just gotten my first YouTube checkpoint due to this channel. It was like $100, so it's not super exciting, but for me it's very exciting. It took like 1.5 years to actually to get that sort of money. $100 for 1 month of well, a lot of work, if I say like this. But I'm putting that into more memory, so in a few days hopefully I have 64 gigs of RAM in my machine, and then we can do, well, then we can do the full blown lab. But before we come to that, we need to install the MDS, we need to install the VSX, we need to show the basics. So it's a few videos until we do the VPN. But hopefully before Christmas, it's all done. I don't promise that because I actually promised the VPN video last month, but I didn't have time to actually fix it. As I said, the requirements for an MDS is actually 32 gigs of RAM. And you can see all the nice documentation if you search for the specific release that you're looking for. And then there are some documentation under, let's see, where did I find this? Here. So here you have all the guides. And the one I opened is the install and upgrade guide. So if we click that one, we will find upgrade option pre-required. No, we're looking for requirements. No, where did I find it? I actually found it in the release notes. So within the release notes, there is an open server minimal hardware requirement, and this is the one that we will use when we're using it in VMware. So the minimum requirement for a production MDS is 32 gigs of RAM and 8 core. And I was in a training like, I don't know, 7 years ago maybe for MDS. And then they told me that this is the minimum requirement. And for each single CMA that you will have in this MDS, you add 1 gig of RAM. So if you want to have like 50 domains, then you add 32 plus 50. So that means 82 gigs of RAM in the box. When I do my installation within production, I normally start with 8 or 12 cores, and then I do 64 gigs of RAM. And those spec I normally use for around 30-35 domains. So far it has worked out quite well. If you're running as me in VMware, you can always add additional resources. So that's the benefit of running it in VMware. When it comes to the disk space, it says 1 terabyte. Well, I normally install it with 1 terabyte, but that doesn't give you a lot room for logs and so on. So if you're planning to run an MLM next to it, install that with 1 terabyte of disk, and then you add disk after, so it doesn't take that disk into the snapshot folder. I will show you what I mean later. Within the lab, I don't have space enough to run 1 terabyte. I will put like 250 gig, but I will try to go to 8 cores and 32 gigs of RAM. And the maximum supported memory that is tested is 512 gigs. So you can have quite large boxes. And you actually need to have very large boxes if you're planning to run them at full capacity. Because the full capacity is to have like 200-250 domains. As I said in the last video, I wouldn't do more than 100 domains. It's too complicated, or it takes too long time to actually do upgrades and so on. So try to keep it within 100. And for the guys with a bit smaller environment, 100 domains or 100 management server, it sounds super much, but when you're talking about service providers and so on, well, it goes quite fast to actually get 100. So let's start some VMware stuff. And we will need the existing gateways from our previous lab to actually have internet. So I will turn them on. And then I need my Windows 10 machine. So I will turn that one on as well. And then we will create the new one. So a new virtual machine. I will do custom. VMware Workstation. You see the limitation in VMware Workstation is 64 gigs of RAM. So, well, you can do big labs, but not huge. And you need an installer file. And when it comes to the installer file, it's also here. So if you press on downloads, I don't know why it doesn't move. Downloads, you need to take here. So in this case, it's the security management server. So clean install, and then you will get the file that you can actually download. And the file is both for normal management and for MDS. And you can see which product is actually supported by this specific file. And I've already downloaded this file, so you don't need to wait for me. So let's go back here. And we will take this one. Next, and it's a Linux. And we will call this machine MDS. No, we will call it CP MDS. And we will have 8 cores. And how much memory do we actually have available? How much is that? If you're adding 32 gigs, we come up in 50, so that's too much. Let's try to do the installation in this one to like, I will try it with like 6, yeah, let's say 20 something, 20 gigs. We can add more memory later. I just hope that the installation will actually work with 20 gig. I don't recommend this for production. For production, it's minimum 32 gigs, but for the lab, let's hope it works with 20. I just need to get my new memory delivered. So next, and we will do not use network connection because I need to make sure that we get the right one. And it's a new virtual disk, and let's do 300 gigs. Yeah, that's okay. And customize hardware, we need to add a network interface or network adapter. And if we check the guide, Let's see. So let's see here. I have written VMnet 6 where I need to place it. So let's place it in VMnet 6. So custom VMnet 6. And do we have the file? Yes, we have 20 something gigs of RAM. Yeah. Let's hope it works. Finish. And let's power this on. I hope it works. Yeah, so far so good. Install Gaia on the system. And I will skip a lot of this stuff. If you want to see how to install management from scratch, I will link up when we install a normal management server up here where it's in full detail. But I will skip ahead so you don't need to wait for all of this stuff. This installation will wipe out all your system. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Swedish keyboard. And let's put 100 gigs. Can we put more? I don't need so much log. 115 gig is the maximum. 115. And the reason why I don't need a lot of logs is because, well, this is not the production. And I did use 300 gigs of storage in this one, but you see that 143 gigs of those I cannot touch. So I'm left with like 150 gigs that I can play around with, so half. So if you select 10 terabytes, Checkpoint will steal 5 terabytes out of default. And that's why you should install it with like 1 terabyte, and then you should add additional space after. And I have a video on how to add additional space after here. Put in the password. Put in IP, and I did select 110, and the gateway is 1. And just as a reference, it's do like this. This is the setup I'm going for. Or here. So you see 110 and the gateway is .1. And okay. And it will format all the drives. Yeah. And let's skip ahead until the first time wizard. When the installation is complete, you will ask to reboot, and just reboot, and then you will be able to do the first time wizard with the help of a web browser. There is possibility to use it without the web browser, but it's more complicated and you need to do a file. If you're doing more automated installation, well, then you can fix it. But in this case, well, just do the web one. You see here that the installation is done. And if you try to log in with the account that you just did do, you get the message, please continue with the first time wizard. So this part, you don't pick which system that you're actually installing. So the system that you're actually installing are decided by the first time wizard. So here we have Google Chrome and HTTPS, and we have 110, and we don't have a certificate, so we get the certificate warning. Log in with the password that you did set during the installation. Here you see that it's in VMware, and we want to continue with the normal. We don't have anything in a snapshot, we don't have a backup or so on. We set this manually, and let's put the host name CP MDS. CP MDS. Let's put the DNS name, so it's so we can do updates and so on. And in this case, we just set the time manually. Normally, you should use an NTP. And here you have the selection for multi-domain server. If you have too low spec, you will not be able to reach multi-domain server. So that's why it's important to try to get as close as the recommended as possible. And you see here that you cannot select gateway here because this installation file, it does not include, or it's not valid for a gateway. It's only valid for a management station. So multi-domain server, and we do the primary multi-domain server. So you can do a secondary, meaning if you want to have HA, and you can do an log server, multi-domain log server, or as I call it in all the stuff, MLM. And as you remember in one of the videos, I forgot to turn this on, and it was a big hassle, so keep that on. And here you see the leading interfaces, meaning where you have all your domain IP addresses. So, and here you see here, 250 domains, 250 management servers virtualized within this box. We will use like 4. So just do next here, and it will be Ethernet 0 because that's the only interface that we actually have. And try to not use any host when it comes to GUI access. But it's not good enough to take this one. So in this case, we do any host, and then we change it because we want to do like a range. So next, and we can keep the same admin. And in this case, we can send some information to Checkpoint so they get happy. Finished. And this will take a few minutes, and I will cut it to it's done. The installation is completely successfully. And this gives you the possibility to check the Gaia portal. And we have the DNS. That's nice. We have our interface. Nice. We still have the time. Let's check the CPUs. So the CPUs is an old version. I'm not sure if we have internet here. Let's do it quick to just update the CPUs agent. This is something that you should do. So install that one, this button, same as normal. And I think that I did have it downloaded. CPUs agent here. So we have a newer one. So let's do install on that one. So the installation is updated. So you see here 1976. Let's do import package. Do we have any hotfix? Well, let's download it quickly. So R80.30 jumbo hotfix. Oh, that's many. Downloads. Jumbo. Here. And the latest for security management CPU's offline package is 219. So let's take that one, download. And we place it here. And 45 seconds, so that's perfect. If you think this is going too fast, well, that's because I'm expecting you to actually have a CCSA or at least the knowledge from it. If you want to check out that serie, it's here on YouTube and it's free and you can just check it. I put the card up here so you can use it if you want. And I would also like to thank everyone to actually have subscribed for the last month. We have increased by like 300 people in 1.5 months. It took like, I don't know, 6 months before to get 500 people, and now we're getting 250 subscribers per month. So that's a real increase, and thank you for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel, just comment and like the videos and consider to subscribe to it, and that's more than enough. So it's downloaded. Let's import it. So we have the jumbo hotfix here. Import. So it's possible to use CPUs even if you're offline. And apparently I'm offline. I'm not sure why. We need to figure that out later. I have a hard time starting up more boxes within this this lab now because of the lack of RAM. I mean, currently we're using 31 gig. So we're getting close to the maximum, and we still need to install an MLM, 2 VSXs. Yeah, good thing I have it on order. So importing the package, and when it's imported, we will just update it. And when you take something in production, I would recommend you to go for the recommended version with the latest hotfix, that is GA. And if you're thinking about like what is the recommended version, what is GA, what is EA, etc., etc., I have a video regarding all the stuff that comes with Checkpoint, the release terminology, and I will link it in the description above. So here we see that it's imported. Let's see if we can see. We don't see anything else, but when you're installing a hotfix, it's important that you click here and do verify. So verify will check that you actually meet the requirements, that you don't have any specific hotfixes that collides that you need to remove. So always run verification before you install a jumbo hotfix or anything on top of your software. So it looks like we have internet on this one, because you see everything was just updated here with the latest release, the jumbo hotfixes and so on. And you see here verification. I mean, verification will work even if you don't have internet. Just make sure to have the latest deployment agent, and that's fairly easy to just update. And the installation is allowed. So let's do the installation. Install update. Installing this update, it will take a few minutes, but more or less it goes through a process to update each separate packages, and you can see here on the package detail page like the status, if it's doing backups, if it requires reboot and so on. So in this specific case, to install this hotfix, the package is installing cpstop and cpstart command are run, meaning that it will stop production. So if you do an upgrade on a management station, your traffic will not stop because your gateway is separate, or it should be separate, and that's regarding the different deployment options that are within Checkpoint. If you're running MDS, you cannot run a gateway on the same machine. You need to have it separate. So while the management server is away, if you're worried about logs are stored locally on the gateways, and when the management station or the log server gets back, it will be sent there if you have forwarding on. So that's something that you need to remember, to have forwarding on your logs. But you don't miss any traffic, and you don't get any production outage from updating an MDS. The only thing is that you cannot do changes, and you cannot do, if you don't have a separate log server, you cannot see the logs while you do these upgrades. So if you need a maintenance window on this, or if you can do it during daytime, it depends on your day-to-day operations if you're doing a lot of changes. If you have like 100 domains, that means more or less that you're a huge company and you have a lot of changes going on all the time. So then you need to plan a maintenance window, even if you're upgrading your management station. Normally, this is not something that needs to be super well in advanced, but it depends on your organization. And it takes a hotfix, maybe takes, let's say 20 minutes to install, because when you're booting an MDS, it takes longer if you have more domains, because it needs to start up the first MDS, and then it needs to start all the different domains, all the virtualized management stations within your MDS. So booting an MDS and have it up and running, if you have 100 domains, it can take 30 minutes. That's on top of the normal boot time. So if you have like open servers and it takes 10 minutes to boot that server, it's 10 minutes plus the MDS boot start. So it can take a while. You don't need to rush if you're running MDS or similar stuff, because then you have a quite big environment. I'm not sure why, but I actually needed to press install update again to get this bar rolling. I don't know why it took like 3 minutes, but now when I pressed it, it took 5 seconds to actually start the installation, and you can see this part that I told you about. So everything is installed. It's now rebooting. So the system is rebooted. Let's see if we can log into it with SSH. And we are able to log into it with SSH. So let's try to log into it with a normal smart console. And it's the same smart console as you have for a normal management server. I will show you how it works later. But here we have the IP address, and we just put in the password. And hopefully we have an installed MDS. And yes, I did reuse an IP address and so on, so that's why we get some alerts. And you see here, it's not fully booted yet. Let's try it again. Okay, it's not up. Let's do expert, and it will complain set expert password. Set the password and log in again. And do clear. And we can do top, so it's the same commands. So you see that the box is working quite hard. You see that it's like using 4 CPUs in total, or 4 cores. If you press on letter number 1, you will see all the CPUs. And here you see our memory, and we have some free, so that's good. And if we wait here for a while until it's normally this process, FWM, but I will say like this. So the first command for MDS, and that's MDS stat. So MDS stat will show you all the domains and if it's up or not. And currently we don't have any domain, we only have the MDS, so we have 0 of 0 up. But this is a really important command that you will use a lot. So MDS stat is showing the MDS process, and we will check that out when we have actually built a few domains. Let's see if it's ready for us to log in. Yeah. So when you log in here, you will be able to select which part you want to log into. And if you are a full-blown admin, or if you just want to see all the domains and then be able to go to different customers or different parts, you select MDS. Right now we don't have any more options, so MDS would be the obvious choice. So this is how MDS actually looks. So now we have done the base installation, and I think that's it for this video. And the next video will come in a few days. So and in that video we'll create some users. We will do some specific GUI ranges, and we will start 1 or 2 domains. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you did learn anything from this video, or if you want me to change something, well, just comment below. Please consider to subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.